Okay, so I typically start with the question, how many of my typing sessions have you seen before?
Um, I've seen a clip like of a like almost like a highlight reel of one. Um, but outside of that, I avoided it. I've had some typing sessions done in the past, and I just felt there's like a certain bias if you're like really in tune with it, or you're maybe trying to look for certain
Sure.
answers in yourself, I guess. So I haven't seen any of yours, I guess, in full.
Okay, cool. And how long have you been into or looking into typology?
Um, More frequently in the last year. It was kind of like a touched on upon thing before that, I'd say, and then the last year or so, I've definitely looked quite a bit more into it.
Okay, cool. Uh, so let me ask the following. Can you tell me about the last time you went out of town on a vacation?
Mm-hmm. Um, Me and the missus went just to a little town for like kind of our anniversary getaway kind of thing. She's big into like trails and stuff like that, so we did a bunch of that, and yeah, had a little night where we did that and some. What else we do? Cocktail class. I found that like just kind of randomly, and then I thought it sounded fun, so we pulled the trigger on that, and then yeah, just kind of spent a little night away together. So
Okay. How long have you been married?
we're just common law, but we've been together, I think, 5 years maybe.
Well, actually, anniversary doesn't necessarily mean wedding anniversary. Gotcha.
Yeah, not the traditional.
All right, cool. Um, so you've been together with her about as long as Rachel and I've been together. Um, okay, cool. So prior to this relationship, would you call yourself somebody who liked long-term relationship, somebody who dated various people, or somebody who mostly avoided that kind of stuff?
mm, I I've always desired the long term relationships, but I've also been like very picky about who I choose to date long term. There's
Okay.
certainly been maybe an odd fling or two, but that's generally not what I'd like to do. I very much like to kind of find those long term partners.
Okay.
So I've
You
only
said
dated. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
it's fine. You said that she likes trails and stuff. Um, is her do you like that about her in that it gets you outside more than you would be otherwise? Do you like that about her in that it's consistent with what you already liked, or do you for yourself, or do you like that about her, or do you not particularly like or dislike that about her or something else?
Mm, I really don't feel too strongly about that either way. Like, I'm glad she likes it, but I've never been a huge nature buff, I guess.
So do
Um,
you think it's good that it gets you out in nature more than you otherwise would be? Bad or neutral?
I'd say good in a sense. I can't certainly can't hurt. So
Okay. Is the cocktail class more your idea, or was that also more her idea?
that was more my idea. I'm usually the one that comes up with the new stuff, I guess.
Okay. It was to learn how to make cocktails or learn how to drink them.
That was the fun part. It was kind of both. So you learn to make
Okay.
them while you or and then drank them after, I guess. So,
Okay, cool. And which of the activities do you think you enjoyed more, the cocktail or the trails?
cocktails for sure.
What do you think she enjoyed more?
Mm, I would say that trails generally, but she's like one of her big love languages would be like quality time. So I think there's like she'll always be happy with that.
Good. So when you say it's her love language, do you mean the one she wants to speak or the one she wants to receive?
Generally receive, I would say quality time's or top of her list.
And which ones do you want to speak and which one do you want to receive most?
Mm, she actually had me do the test probably in her first year of dating, and it was, I believe, gift giving was my top for receiving, or and then words of affirmation, and then in terms of giving, um, I believe it was the same two outward as well.
Hmm. A lot of those times I don't think they distinguish between which one, which love language you want to speak and which one you want to be spoken to. But I think it's informative about cognitive functions, why I asked about it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Can you tell me about the last time you went to the supermarket? Do you do the shopping? Does she do the grocery shopping, or do you do it together?
I generally do. I'm actually out of I'm Canadian, so out of province. So when we're both at home, I do the grocery shopping typically. Um,
So when's
she'll
the last
generally make
day you did that?
the last time I did
What,
that.
yeah, last time you did that.
Oh boy, I've been out here a few months, so it would have had to been sometime in the spring whenever I started out here, I guess.
That's the last time you went grocery shopping?
Um, Back home, yeah, like
But you said you do it
I eat
here,
out
right?
quite a bit here. Is kind of
You,
the thing. It's like a hotel situation, so I don't really do a lot of
oh, I see. I got it. I
groceries. Gotcha.
misunderstood. You're not home now. You were before, not the other
Yeah,
way.
yeah. Sorry, I didn't make that too clear.
No, I wasn't listening carefully. Okay. Um. All right. Gotcha. So, well, have you gone to some other kind of store that you shop at while you're there besides the grocery store that you buy multiple things at, maybe?
Yeah. Or we could say, actually, I guess Costco I've been to once. That'd probably be the last big trip.
Okay. Can you talk me through that trip? Sparing no boringness and detail. Spare me none of it. Tell me, like, first I went to this aisle, I got this thing, it was on sale. Then I went to the next aisle. It was the aisle that has these things. I saw that thing. I purchased it. I put it in my cart. I saw, oh, it's too much. I put it back. Give me as much detail as you can.
Okay. Um, so I went in. I think it was raining or something weird. I can remember that because people were kind of freaking out near the entrance. I needed a few things for work. It was like some random tools or whatever, and I was mostly trying to find that because I need like really needed that. So I was kind of wandering around where I thought it might be, and just for whatever reason was not finding it. And then went a bit crazy with that for a while, and then I think I just stopped. Would have been like the pants or shirts or maybe something that I just like looked at just for something to do while I figured out where to kind of attack things, I guess. And then yeah, after that I had the
Did you
pants,
get
put them back, and then I couldn't find the zip ties, and I think I just saw the lines were super long, and then I kind of just said, "Screw it," more or less, and just live to fight another day.
okay? So you use zip ties in your work. Are you a kidnapper?
Never I'll admit to. More, I'm in construction now.
Okay. All right. I figured something like that. I said I'd take the chance to make it there.
Yeah,
Uh,
fair enough.
okay. And are you like a supervisor type person?
Yeah, now I am. It's a bit of a wild
Okay.
path there, but
What? kind of personnel management like do you have to do? Do you have to tell people, no, you're doing this wrong? Do you have to tell people, okay, next you need to do this? Do you have to tell people, are you in charge of subcontractors? Like, tell me more about your supervisorial qualities.
Yeah, so I guess generally what's expected of me is just anything on the job site I'm in charge of. Um, so anything getting built, and then the people there as well. Um,
Okay. Do,
so
pe- do people respond well to taking instructions from you?
yeah, I have a bit of a different management style than I'd say a lot of construction supervisors do. So people tend to be pretty receptive when I need something or in kind of giving them that instruction. And generally they take it pretty well. So
So how would you differentiate your management style against the typical norm?
I'm really big on servant leadership. Um, for one, so I kind of try and put people in a spot to succeed, and there's a certain element of trust to how I do things where I'm going to let them do their job and do it well because I've never been like a great technician on anything, so I trust they can do that better, and I can kind of poke my hand in as needed. Um, and then yeah,
What,
I'd say
what
for
kind of construction, what kind of construction stuff did you do before you were managing people?
I was a carpenter, kind of just out of there was not a lot of jobs in the area, so it wasn't a great fit for me in a lot of ways, but I knew how I could get out eventually, and that was kind of moving to the management spot, I guess. So
So what did you find challenging about it, carpentry?
um, I'm how to say this. I've never been a technician in any sense, kind of like I was referencing before. Like I wouldn't say I'm clumsy, but I'm just not like you see some guys that are just naturals, like um, I don't know, like I've seen enough of them, or like my brother's the complete opposite, where like anything with the motor or whatever, he could dismantle, figure out, do anything with that, just second nature. Whereas that was never
I
a
see.
strength for me.
So you say the lack of strength is more in the figuring out part or more in the executing it once you understand what needs to be done part?
Mm, figure, I would say we're usually pretty good with ideas. It's more the execution, I'd say, was probably the biggest weak point.
Okay. How many things do you have to figure out as a carpenter, or how much of it is executing recipes versus how much of it is executing recipes?
Mm, I would say like 90% of it could be executing recipes, and then there's a 10% where something's going to go wrong, like things don't fit like they do on like a piece of paper, I guess. So it's
Okay.
yeah.
So usually if you're working as a carpenter, somebody's giving you a piece of paper saying, do it like this.
A lot of the times they don't give you the paper, oddly enough. Sometimes people hoard the information for whatever reason, which is a little frustrating, but they'll just say, oh, build this or do this way and fast. And that's about all you get sometimes. So,
Okay. Gotcha. Um, can you tell me if you feel as though you've changed much from elementary school until today?
mm, probably more like more like my elementary school self now than I had been for like a long time. I'd say kind of the teenage years and then a good chunk of the 20s. I don't really think I was kind of my best self.
Okay.
But now
What
I'm kind of
growth
back.
what growth were you doing during those periods, or was it devolution? You know? Like in other words, what ways which were you changing during those periods that made it not your best self?
Mm, that's a good question. I just there was just some stuff that just didn't really go to kind of the maybe dream I had for myself, and then just trying to readjust was a bit of a tough time, and um, just kind of actually figuring out how to ground myself a hair really helped. I'd say like just I had a lot of the teen years, especially I was quieter than I ever was before, and um, bit of a daydreamer. So it just kind of getting back out instead of just thinking stuff all the time or picturing what it could be, and just starting to maybe make those impacts in the world a little more.
Okay. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Mm, coffee, uh, and croissant.
Okay. How many hours of sleep do you get a night?
um, lately, maybe 6, 7 on a good day.
Okay. How many do you think you need?
I think between 7 to 8 would probably be the sweet spot.
Okay. Uh, how many meals do you eat a day?
Mm, meals, 3 most of the time. I guess usually 2 out here, but
Okay. Do you sometimes forget to eat, or do you eat at regular times every day?
um, generally just eat when I have time. Um, some days with when work's maybe not going the smoothest or when a lot of stuff's happening, I'll just kind of push it to the side until I know the legs get wobbly, and then it's like, okay, maybe a quick bite can't hurt. But
All right, cool. Um, when you were daydreaming back in high school, and when you had visions for yourself that maybe didn't play out as you envisioned them originally, what were you daydreaming of? What visions did you have of how the future might turn out that were different from how it did turn out?
mm, there's a lot of, I don't know, there's kind of this like weird, well, I was kind of had like this desire to be a bit of a leader in the world and whatnot. And maybe right around those teen years was when I started to not so much be doing that and just kind of like almost thinking about it. And then, yeah, that I kind of remember that being a big one. And then even just, I don't know, like even just like say there was an interest in a girl or something like that. And then just kind of like thinking about it and like, hey, it's not going to work out because this kind of thing. Um, so just not even giving the chance and just kind of making kind of assumptions a bit on what I thought was going to happen. So yeah, it just was a lot more no's than I think I used to be doing.
Okay. Do you think you have better reason to trust your instincts or your experience?
Um, I'd say most of the time I go with my instincts. Um, it's not like I come up with my answers pretty quick. I don't usually, yeah, I don't kind of
Gotcha.
rely on anything back, but
Okay, cool. Can you break the task of giving yourself a haircut into exactly 5 steps?
Sure. Is this assuming I have this stuff in front of me, or do I gotta?
Um, that's
Oh,
that's a great response. I'm gonna say, assume you have this stuff in front of you.
All right. So if I'm going Clippers, then I'm gonna plug them in, I'm guessing. Then turn them on. Oh, actually, no. I'd probably put whatever size I'd want down first. Um, then turn them on. Sort of let it ride. Just do everything. I'm assuming I'm doing a buzz if I'm doing it to myself. And then last, just look for any strays and clean them up.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. That is 5 steps. Okay. Can you suggest some solutions to the problem of plastics in the oceans?
Um, I don't know if it's the best route, but just the like recyclable paper, and maybe the other one that'd jump out at me would be like there was that big push to like everyone understands recycling plastics and what should go where, and then at some point, from what I understand, we got away from that, where like no one knows what would it be, like a number 2 or whatever plastic, like no one knows the different categories. So maybe getting people back in line with that, or even just throwing out some kind of fine for more dumping would be the other option that's kind of popping in my head. But
Okay. So that's kind of preventing additional plastics in the ocean. Do you have any thoughts for removing the existing plastics in the oceans?
um I'm picturing the big, like the, the, I don't even know what they're called, but the planes that scoop water and then dump on forest fires, like just a really large scale version of that. But that's
That's a great idea. That's the best idea I've ever heard asking this question many times. Nobody ever had any good idea.
I
That's
mean,
the only good idea I've ever heard.
it's entertaining. I don't know how the viability on it, but it's definitely it's an
At
idea.
least it's a real idea, right? At least it's an actual idea that poses something that has some solvency to the thing. Everyone gets like completely flummoxed by the question.
They don't. What would they?
I
Sorry. What would
mean, everybody does what you did first, which is they don't answer the question I asked, but instead talk about how to prevent additional plastics from getting into the
Yeah.
oceans. And then when I push them on how to actually solve it, they go, I mean, I don't know. I guess you just maybe go out on a boat and pick it up. Like, that's the best you're gonna get, basically. It's a tough question to answer. Some people say, "Well, I hear," or they'll give you like a news report. Well, I hear they're developing bacteria that eat plastics, something like that.
Oh, yeah. I don't.
But that's also not coming up with the solution, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, uh, okay. Which piece of advice do you think is better for people to follow? Dot your I's and cross your T's, or let go of your past. It's just holding you down.
I'd say generally let go of your past. Like you're not really gaining anything by. It's always been a sore spot when people, they'll bring up when you screw up and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I did, but it's part of growing up, I guess. But
Okay. And if you're going to get mad at yourself, are you going to be more mad at yourself if you, if, okay, let's say somebody's accurately critiquing you, okay, which is going to make you, no, hearing this accurate critique is going to make you mad at yourself, though, not them, okay? Let's just pretend these scenarios. This is
Yeah.
the scenario. And they say to you, yeah, that idea is not original at all. That's just somebody else's idea, you plagiarizer. Or they say, you are so unreliable. You say you're going to show up at 9. Sometimes you get there at 8. Sometimes you get there at 10. I never know when you're going to show up.
Hmm.
Assuming it's not work or something like that, right? It's just
Yeah.
a critique by somebody else.
I I am like very rarely late is one part, so that's kind of what. That one I'd probably beat myself up more. Like they both seem kind of close, but maybe a hair more that way, I'd say.
Okay. How about this? You never remember Judy's name. And she always says nice things about you. You never even remember her name. Versus, I can't believe how careless you were when you said, um, oh, you're it's so great that your mom's visiting you, but that was actually that lady's sister and she's super offended.
Uh, I had like a bit of a cringe on the second one, so that would probably give me my answer there.
Okay. Does anybody ever accuse you, are people more likely to accuse you of being too long-winded or too unfair?
Mm, Probably too long-winded, I'd say.
Okay. Are they likely to, are you more likely to get accused of not providing enough details or not providing a clear enough path that someone's supposed to follow?
Mm, Not enough details for sure.
Okay. How about you're accused of doing something prematurely, like you jumped the gun and started doing this before you knew everything you're supposed to know, or um, waiting too long. You should have gotten started right then, but you were too hesitant and you thought you needed more information, but you didn't.
I'd been more often accused of jumping the gun.
Okay. And what do you value more in other people in the world? That they be socially graceful or that they be impactful in their actions?
Uh, I'd say socially graceful would be higher on the list for me.
Okay. What about kind or honest?
I'd say kind. I'd rather people be kind.
Okay. Um, all right, cool. Can you talk to me about what kind of media you consume when you aren't consuming media that teaches you stuff?
Ooh, um, there's a lot of not necessarily just yeah. There's a lot of informative stuff. I'd think outside of that, there's like the fantasy shows would probably be my big one. Like I'm not big on sci-fi necessarily, but more that like swords and sorcery genre, those style shows or that sort of media, I guess, would be more appealing to me.
Like Game of Thrones type stuff?
Yeah, yeah, that'd be a decent example.
Okay, cool. Do you watch any sports?
Uh, yeah, I watch a decent chunk of football.
Oh, like American football?
Yeah, I'm a Lions fan, sadly. Well, less sadly now, but yeah, I football be the one I watch quite a bit. Like I'm Canadian and hockey's big here, but I don't necessarily watch a ton. I just know what to say to get people talking sometimes about it, I guess.
Let's
But
see. I'm considering peeking in on the Oilers game tonight, see if they can.
yeah, I might.
Hey,
Yeah,
It's like they got all of their games in just one game, basically, so far. They got 8 goals in one game.
Yeah, I'm hoping they can keep it going. That's where yeah, that's where I've been living the last little while. So I'm right in the middle of it. But
Edmonton, huh? Well, is Edmonton a nice place?
mm, generally, um, it's not too different from anywhere else. Like everyone's pretty nice and whatnot. There's only really been one incident out here where I kind of got almost attacked at the airport. Was a bit of a thrill, but
Really? Did you incite that in some way, or did it just happen to you?
I if I did something, I don't know what it would be. I've never been in a fight in my life, so it was just wrong place, wrong time with a guy with too much liquor in his system. But
Hmm, I see. Yeah, that'll tend to link rather strongly to chaos, a bunch of alcohol, you know. Do you not drink very much yourself?
um, yeah, I'm a pretty light drinker. I've always not had a great handle on that stuff when I get going, so I tend to play it pretty safe these days. I'd say like I'll drink a little bit, but I don't lead the charge. I guess compared to I'm referencing a lot of my friends. I think in my
Okay,
head a bit with
gotcha.
it.
Gotcha. Canada, you guys, there's a fair amount of drinking in Canada, right?
Um, yeah, I'd say so. I would guess I have a hard time picturing anyone that doesn't.
Okay.
Um,
I'm basing this on the movie Strange Brew. A
uh,
little dated, but I'm assuming hopefully things are still just like that in Canada.
I wish, yeah. If you go to the right parts, I think there's a bit of that. But
Okay. Uh, do you have any? Do you have a 5 or 10 year plan?
mm, 5 year, yes. Um, 10 year, kind of. I don't really do like I don't like have like this and this and like it's more like goals. Like I'm trying to think of a good example. Like for work stuff, I guess is an easy one because we just had to do them, and it was just like I want to be like seen as more of a like a go-to like leader in the company kind of thing. Uh,
Mhm.
and then like personal life, there's just like some stuff with think about kids and maybe like what kind of father I can be and stuff like that. But not like specifically like this property, this car kind of thing. That's not really how I've ever gauged things.
Very cool. I'm gonna ask you a few introverted thinking questions now. So these are like verbal reasoning questions. If only bears eat berries and I'm a bear, do I necessarily eat berries?
Um, you wouldn't have to.
Right. If some frogs play baseball and all things that play baseball eat sunflower seeds, is it necessarily the case that some frogs eat sunflower seeds?
Yes.
Okay, cool. If no penguins eat fish and I don't eat fish, am I necessarily a penguin?
Not necessarily.
Correct. Okay. can you tell me who my mother's husband is in relation to me?
Your grandfather?
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. How about this? My dad's sister's husband's daughter's brother in relation to me. Dad's sister's husband's daughter's brother.
Cousin?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Now let me ask you some extroverted intuition questions. So I'm going to give you the starter for a story. I want you to complete the story.
Okay.
There's a turtle and an eagle, and they're hanging out near one another in the forest. And the turtle sees this fruit that had fallen down onto the ground and starts walking over to eat it. I'm going to have this fruit. And the eagle says, I might want to eat that. And runs over and grabs it. And the turtle says, you don't even eat fruit, you eat fish. Now you complete the story.
I'm kind of seeing the eagle. I'm really bad with voices, so I'm not going to try, but I see the eagle kind of saying he wants to try a few different things and just expand his kind of meals a little bit. And then I kind of feel the turtle might be a little more stuck in his ways and it's like, no, you got to do this and I'll do that. And that's kind of the end of it in mind.
Okay, fine. Now I'm going to tell you about a new invention I've made up, and I want you to take on the role of marketing guy. And you're going to come up with a snappy name for the product, okay? My invention, it's a garden shed that has um, that has a smoker attached to the back of it so that you can put away your shovel and then the smoke meets in the shed at the same time.
Oh my. I have um, Mower Meats is probably the product name I'm thinking of.
Okay. Can you
Um,
give me a couple more choices?
hmm, Grass and smoke, but that's can be taken a very different direction. um,
Speaking of which,
and then I'd probably say picturing the Great Escape for a Man is kind of the last title. I'm really attached to
okay,
the first one, so I'm not.
okay, fine. We're just checking how much native comfort you have with a bunch of randomness, right? So that's fine. All right. Which would you rather drown? A kitten, or a puppy?
Kitten.
Why?
Sorry for the cat I saw in the background, but
What's your reasoning?
um, I we have a dog for one, I guess, and then I just cats just something about them. I don't know. They've
You said
never. Yeah.
you like dogs better.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, can you give me some examples of when first an example of when your subjectivities betrayed you? In other words, instance where you didn't adequately know what you wanted, or did or prioritized some short-term want over some longer-term want and later regretted it?
Mm, I can remember there's kind of two girls I was interested in, and then um, one I thought was better looking, and then one was a bit more of like a personality match, I'd say. Um, and then instead of going with the one that would have probably been a longer term um, partner for myself, I tried dating the other one for a little bit, and it didn't work out, and kind of felt I knew better, and it was just kind of a dumb mistake kind of thing. But
Hmm. Okay, well, that's great. Now, can you do the same for your objectivities? When you were thought you were being objective, maybe using a disinterested calculus, being fair and not biased, but later you realized, oh, maybe you let your bias get to you. Maybe you let some subjective bias get in there.
mm, um, probably somewhat of a recent one I caught myself with. There was two companies at work one day, and then the one I got along with better because they listened, which goes a long way. And then the other was a little more just kind of waving me off quite a bit. And then they both um, needed something around the same time, and kind of without hesitation went the ones I liked better, even though the other guys needed needed my part more than them.
Hmm. Well, I mean, you have to work with them, right?
Yeah.
That's perfectly reasonable instance for your subjectivity to have a say. After all, if you don't subjectively work with them well, then objectively the work's not gonna probably get done as efficiently, or well, maybe it would. I don't know. It depends. Sometimes you see teammates on baseball teams or something. Maybe they hate each other, but the team wins, right?
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. There's usually not that much hostility on my site, so it's I think it was just something I caught myself with, where it's like, hey, like you're leaning
Right.
one way you shouldn't, kind of thing. So
But I think then the one you chose would have had to be like less efficient, works in some way, and you chose them anyway because you liked them.
yeah, there was just the element of lying, I think, to myself a little,
Oh, okay.
where it's like, oh, I'm picking him for these reasons. Like, no, you're picking him because you like him, and I think that's where I'm picturing that subjectivity coming in a little more.
All right, see. Okay, cool. Can you tell me whether you believe people who know you think you're more extroverted than you actually are, or people who know you think you're more introverted than you actually are?
Mm, I would think people think I'm more introverted than I actually am.
Okay. All right. Well, with 15 minutes left, I believe I know what type you are. So I'm going to tell you what I think your type is. And then I'll ask you to tell me what type you thought you were maybe coming in, and we can discuss it as need be in the last 15 minutes. And if I need to check something else to check against what you think, then I could give me a little time to do that. So I'm pretty sure you're an ENFJ.
Hmm.
And before I start going into explaining why, you want to tell me if you agree with me?
Um, yep, that was um, the one I resonated most with, especially when I'm kind of feeling my best self, I guess is um, Like if I'm picturing times where I didn't really feel like myself, it's some kind of a different animal, but that's what I felt my best fit type was. It just, like I mentioned, previous typing sessions, there was a little bit of me giving not bad information, but maybe what depends on the question sometimes, I think. Whereas
Well,
you have
I
a bit
mean,
more, yeah.
your affect, I think, is going to lead most people towards ISFJ or INFJ.
Oh, okay.
If
What?
your jobs are going to lead people towards STJ or NTJ.
Hmm. Yeah, that was exactly it a little bit. And then there was one that was ISTP, and it was kind of, it felt a little like part of it was how I was answering for sure, but there was the Princess Bride where um, the mastermind guy or whatever, he's like, they have the whole battle of wits in terms of poisons and stuff, and like kind of overthinking some stuff in a certain sense, where
Well,
sometimes, yeah.
first of all, your FE is clearly higher than ISTP, in my opinion. Your, for example, if I just begin to make a sound, you give way and let me interrupt you, right?
Right.
Even apologizing for me interrupting you. In
That could be
contrast, I
Canadian
typed an
too. Yeah.
INTJ lady earlier, and she, if I tried to interrupt her, she would finish her sentence until she was done. Every time that'd be polar.
Oh, okay.
So I think FE's above TI. Your TI test, you got everything right, but it didn't. It didn't smell like dominant to me. I mean, maybe that's not a good reasoning, but it's like you seem to be intuiting the answers more than parsing them out sometimes.
Okay.
But I don't really know.
If I'm being honest, the last one was just a guess because I kind of forgot while I was trying to work my way through it. Um,
Yeah. This is a problem I have with CI tests and ENFJs a lot. They've got terrible SI, so they can't remember the question, but they've got great instrumental intuition. So they always test better on the introverted thinking questions because they're intuiting something that if I were to ask them to explain it exactly, they'd probably struggle to explain it, but they get the answers right.
that
So yeah, yes, you test higher than fourth in terms of TI, but I'm not worried about that result because really all it tells you is the TI test is one or two blind or something else. I think you qualify as something else. So that's consistent with that. Your TE is not polar, so you cannot be an INFJ. An INFJ would not be able to do that 5 steps, give yourself a haircut thing. No way, no how. So I could eliminate that. Your TE is not super conscious and good. You're kind of self-deprecating about it a bit. That's consistent with 4 or 8. That's consistent with the ENFJ. Your leadership style is also consistent with ENFJ. You like the idea of, as advice, people should let go of their past or the past because it holds everybody down. That's very textbook ENFJ. Your extrovert intuition is good enough such that you can come up with more than one idea, but you don't see the point of it. It's countervalued. Why come up with more random shit? Just come up with the good stuff. That's consistent with the ENFJ. So I feel very confident you're an ENFJ, even though it's hard to say definitively SI7, SI8, they look the same. So
okay.
I don't have a definitive SI blind spot test. I believe you are SI blind. You're either 7 or 8, right? But the only way I can eliminate INFJ entirely is because you're not TE polar. But I don't have that double testing of, and you are SI polar, right? So I don't have such a definitive test for that one.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I was gonna ask what that slot would switch, but that kind of lines up a bit. Like I know I'm in a position where I at least need a bit of the TE-ness that I don't think the INFJ might be the best fit, but
Yeah.
there was some resonance with that because I'm not always terrible loud, and there's, I mean, everyone's awkward at some points in their life too, but like there's always kind of like that very much on my mind all the times, like not getting in trouble essentially is like not the big goal, but like there's certain like a underlying theme to what I do a lot of the times, and it looks strange to some people, but
I mean, that is a classic FE thing. Both Rachel and I have talked about this before too. She's an INFJ. I'm an ENTP. We're both TI and FE front stack. FE people, we have this constant fear of getting in trouble, even if we're the adult in charge. Right? It's like, find me someone who can get me in trouble, please, because I need to be afraid of getting in trouble somehow, somewhere or another. It's a weird phenomenon because I think it's the dark side of being a team player.
hmm,
We got different expressions, some of which are positive and some of which are negative. But I think if you're a team player, that means you're concerned that somebody representing the team is going to get you in trouble.
yeah, that's fair. And I mean, the Canadian factor on top of things probably doesn't help a ton, like with all the stories being thrown out. But
What stories are being thrown out?
sorry, stories, as
Oh,
in the apology.
sorries. Oh,
Yeah,
sorries. Right. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Oh, yeah. You guys are notoriously polite.
I mean, yeah, we like to advertise that way. I don't know if it always reigns true, but
Hmm.
that's another
Well,
debate.
the Japanese also, they're very polite people, and it makes them all a little tense, I think.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little different there, but like I said, the beer drinking Canadian friendliness is a little different animal. So
Okay, sure. Understandable. I just noticed when I watch Canadian stuff, like, I don't know that I watch these YouTube videos about somebody goes out in the woods and finds some lost abandoned place to explore. Like in Canada, there's never any graffiti. Nobody's broken the windows of this lost place. Oh, it's a real shame. This place is really going to rot here, but this is some beautiful work here done. And then make sure we put everything back before we go. And it's all polite and everything. You know. I live in a rare part of America where you can go out in the woods and stuff, but just all around here where there's no graffiti or trash or anything. It's actually a nice place. But most places, just trash, trash.
oh, that's too bad. I mean, yeah, it's definitely a privilege to be walking outside and just yeah, not stepping in a pile of God knows what kind of trash. So
Yeah. Uh, okay. Do you have any questions, thoughts, queries, complaints, concerns, condemnations, or other comments you'd like to make?
the only thing I was kind of curious about is like how NI in the second slot, I guess, would function versus the first. Like, 'cause I figured about the extroverted part being in the lead because there's not usually enough of a filter compared to what I would picture like an IJ answering questions, I guess.
The main distinction I would make, again, that's a tough one to distinguish between test wise, one and two, no matter what function it is. Telling the difference between one and two is almost impossible. But one difference I would say is ENFJs are less patient. So they're this LCD sound system. Rachel likes LCD sound system. They're a band that's got kind of long songs.
Yep,
Um, she's willing to let that develop and play out. ENFJs are like, make your artistic point and let's get out of here.
that's
So
where yeah, no, that's a good point. I definitely patience is not a strong suit. Sometimes I put on a poker face with it, but yeah, my partner, she calls me out on it a little bit because it's trying to be nice, but also like shrink things down a little. Let's not
I'm sure it's absolutely torturous for you to listen to anybody tell you an SI story. Like, and then I went to the second aisle and I got some Pringles and they were on sale, you know? And so then I went down the aisle a little further and I got these things and I was like, oh, well, how cool. These are right next to these other things. You just feel like, oh, shoot me in the head. Right?
yeah,
I
yeah.
actually might have a little more tolerance for that than ENFJs do.
Okay, no, that's I mean, dead on. I can. That happens quite often, and it's exactly that, and that's where I wondered, like, oh, that doesn't seem very FE to not enjoy that, like listening to them in that regard. But yeah,
It's
those
the
stories.
SI polar. It's the
Oh,
SI polar. Because that's it's straight SI. You just like, I am not going to retain any of this. None of it has any relevance because my tool function is the relevance function, introverted intuition, right?
yeah,
So you need to know what something means. That story doesn't mean anything, right? It's just them telling a story about some boring stuff that happened.
yeah, those, yeah, the Coles Note versions is always where I tend to lean. So that, yeah, that checks out a ton.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
No, that was great. Yeah, enjoyed it, and I didn't don't think I'm left with any other questions after that. Cleared up a lot. So thanks for
Oh,
taking the time.
my pleasure. Would you like me to share this with you privately, or are you comfortable with me publishing?
You can publish if you want. Hopefully there's something interesting in there. So
Oh yeah, I'm sure people will find it very informative. Thank you.
awesome. Thanks. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.